Our end users run the gamut of everyone from candidates. Before they work for us, our candidates are using our ATS or potentially assessment tools. And then employees, of course, are using core HCM or payroll solutions to manage their own data or print their pay stubs, and then performance management systems, learning and development, LMS modules. So it really can run the gamut, from the beginning of the relationship all the way until the end when we're offboarding somebody or using them with perhaps internal, referral software even. Now, there may be business rationale for efficiency or accuracy, or to save time or money or cost, or to increase, access to just-in-time information that we can overlay with, with data around sales or productivity or revenue. But for the employees, for the end users, the importance is getting them into the core tools that inform them about their job, that may help them get access to information that they need, that allows them to access perhaps development opportunities. It's an organization using an LMS that has a platform for people to learn. So getting people involved with that technology allows them to do their job, but it can also allow them to have access to sort of the greater scope of the organization. A lot of these technologies can reinforce culture through communication that's done, through the messaging that's done, through the community that can be built. And while this is not specifically an HR technology, but I think about Slack, looking at Slack at its most basic, kind of the communication mechanisms that come with that. And so people can get a lot beyond getting tasks done by the overlay of all these pieces of technology together. When we work in HR, we get very excited about implementing something. We know what it's going to do for us, perhaps in our day-to-day. But we need to think about the end users and why they may want to or may not want to have something new. Because quite often, there are people resistant to change for a number of reasons, but quite often people just see it as another task they have to do. Oh, here comes the HR department giving me yet something more to do. I have to go somewhere else and log in and learn a new system and memorize another password. So we really have to think about what's in it for them, and temper that with our messaging as we're rolling something out. So the end user may not want something, just telling them that it's something better. They may not just want something better because their definition of better may be different than ours. So what are they looking for? Is it ease of use? Is it the ability to get information? Is it the ability to self-solve? Quite often, when we look at large platforms, we talk about self-service and manager self-service and employee self-service. It's also about providing employees with a chance to not only take care of issues, but kind of solve issues, access information, make changes, research, whatever it may be. Main steps to drive user adoption, I think the first step is to be aware of what the roadblocks potentially can be, which is realize that end users may be indifferent. They may resist just for the sake of resisting. And quite often we fail when there's ineffective training, inadequate communication, and then we don't hold people accountable. So that's kind of why we fail. How we overcome that is implementing and planning for user adoption very early on. We need to start thinking about user adoption at the selection phase. If I'm out looking for a new HCM suite, I need to start thinking about who all my end users are at that stage, and look at that solution through the eyes of Susie in customer service or Bob in the distribution center. What are their needs going to be, and how is this going to help them? So taking a look at the beginning, starting to think about not just the nuts and bolts of kind of that project planning around the implementation, but what's the change management piece with that, and the communication that's embedded in that. How am I bringing everybody in the organization along? As I'm working over here in HR, getting all excited, setting up charts and tables and new workflows, what does that look like? Am I asking the end users as part of that process? Bring some champions in from these disparate departments, and bring in some naysayers as well, and get them involved during that planning phase and that implementation prior even to launch. Doing a really good job of training again, being aware of the needs of my particular workforce, because it's going to be different at every organization. I've worked with organizations that are very low tech, and people don't sit at a desk, and people don't interact with technology. So having some training that fits that workforce is critical, and that may look like very different training than the training I do at a insurance company where everybody's in an office. And then finally, it's monitoring and keeping track of how people are using the system going forward. It's never letting it die. It's not launch and forget it. It's constantly tweaking it, refreshing content, driving people into the system so that they go there as a destination. We do some work ahead of time, and there may be some more resources deployed to do it well at the front end. If I'm planning an implementation, I'm going through a selection procedure, planning an implementation. My existing HR team or payroll team or whoever's finance team, whoever's involved, yes, will probably be devoting more time, because I think it's planning and planning well. I may bring in outside resources to help me with that, and one of the things I've seen is using outside resources to help with that change management piece that's embedded across that process. Sometimes it's easier to have somebody from the outside kind of manage that change across the organization, or to help manage that. So there may be more time spent up front, but I think, again, when we're implementing new HR technology or new workplace technology, the end goal is usually to create some efficiencies or to save down the road time and money. So I think quite often we do get there. We spend a little time up front, and then we get to those efficiencies and effectiveness once we're live. I worked for one company that did an adoption that was very well thought out in this manner, and it was a mid-sized organization, but they were doing a wholesale change of a full HCM suite. So it included everything from core HR and payroll, all the way through, touching every part of the employee life cycle. And so it was decided to do a phased rollout as opposed to everything all at once. The HR team could have handled, and the system could have handled doing everything at once, but the focus was on how are the employees going to get used to using this new system. It was very much a change. And so it was done over a period of about 6 months, where the core HR and payroll system was rolled out in October. The benefits module for open enrollment came in November. The applicant tracking system went live in January, and then finally performance management went live in March. And the thinking behind it was rolling out those core pieces got people into the system, being familiar with it, using it. There were some tweaks that were made to the dashboard and kind of adjusting the user experience, the employee experience, so that by the time they got to performance management, which was the most highly interactive piece, Employees had been working in the system now for about 6 months. So they were accustomed and used to the tool and used to where to, knew where to find things and research things within the platform, so that performance management module rollout as the last piece just very easily slid into place. So it was, again, it was a very thoughtful approach to get ultimately high user adoption by building the comfort and the steps along the way.